Bonjour! This video is all about the 90-word writing question in the GCSE AQA French paper for both higher and foundation tiers. I'm doing A-Level French, and in this video I'll explain how to plan, write and proofread the 60-mark question. On y va? Alors, in order to make sure you write as clearly as possible and therefore achieve full marks, it's important that you plan. So let's go through each bullet point one by one. So the first one, I think it's fairly self-explanatory, translates to your opinion on shopping. And this is in the present tense. So let's think of some complex structures we might want to use. So we might want to use maybe d'une part, d'autre part. We might even want to use a bien que, which means although, and I'd watch out using bien que because it requires the subjunctive. And the subjunctive has loads of rules and irregularities, so only use maybe one or two phrases that you remembered. So you could say something like bien que ma mère, and that should have an accent, but I'll add that later. Aime le shopping. So that means like, whilst my mum likes shopping, you could then say like, I find it boring or I find it too expensive, something like that. So number two is also in the present tense, and it means votre transport préféré pour aller en ville. So think about how it's going to town. So you don't want to just say like a plane, because you wouldn't use a plane to go into the town centre, but you might use something like le train, which means the train. So you might want to say bon pour la planète, which obviously needs accents, or l'environnement, something like that. Number three, so the key word here is dernier, which puts it in the past tense, and it means a trip or a visit to the shops last Saturday. So that's puts us in the past tense, and you could say something like je me suis bien engagé, with an accent, which I'll add later, and that means I had fun, and that's a good complex phrase to use because it uses the past tense reflexive verb, which reflexive is essentially just saying myself. So it literally translates to I just realised I said engagé, I meant amusé. There we go. It literally translates to I amused myself well, but it means I had a lot of fun. And that obviously needs an accent, which I'll add later. And then number four, that's in the future tense, and it's your activities in town next weekend. So we could use something like je mangerai, which is the future tense, or maybe j'aimerais, which is the conditional. Perfect. Let's start the first bullet point. So I think we should probably start with je dirais que. Oh no, we're starting with the bien que, aren't we? So bien que ma mère aime le shopping, and I'll add the accents later. It's worth noting, by the way, that the accent on the mère doesn't really matter because it doesn't change the meaning. So whilst it's good to add the accent, you won't really lose too many marks if the accent doesn't change the meaning. So bien que ma mère aime le shopping, we could say like car elle le trouve. So that means she finds it. The le there is the trouve. Watch out, because obviously if it's feminine, it would be elle la trouve, but it's shopping, le shopping. That's masculine. Elle la trouve divertissant, because she finds entertaining. Je dirais que. So whilst my mum likes shopping because she finds it entertaining, I would say that shopping is... Oh, just switch to English. We could use a non seulement, mais aussi, and that means not only but also. So non seulement barbant, that means boring. You could also say something like ennuyeux, mais aussi trop cher, and that means too expensive. Now that's actually probably enough for one bullet point. We might want to write one more sentence, so we could do something like en plus, which means furthermore, or we could do something like cependant, shopping is I keep writing in English. utile is useful, and then so we've already used car for because, and that's because it's you want to use a wide range of vocabulary. So don't just always say parce que. You can use car, you can use parce que, you can use puisque, they all mean because. Étant donné que, even, that means given that, and then something like à cause de, which means because of. So le shopping est utile, and then I'm going to say parce que j'ai besoin de vêtements. Vêtements means clothes, and that also needs an accent. So I'll add that on later. Now, I honestly think that's enough. Alors, votre transport préféré pour aller en ville? You could say something like selon moi. Selon moi, which means according to me. That's, I think a lot of people use it, but it's still one level up from à mon avis, because everyone uses à mon avis, je pense que. Je dirais que is really good because it uses the conditional, and selon moi is just, better than à mon avis because it's less common. So, selon moi, le train, oh god, le train est mon transport préféré pour aller en ville. So, according to me, train is my favourite transport for going to town. Obviously, I'll add the accents to préféré afterwards. Now, I know, like, in English you probably wouldn't say according to me the train is the most important, it's my favourite way, but it makes sense in the context of the exam, and that's kind of what matters, and you just want to be adding, like, as many of those opinion phrases, like, selon moi, je pense que, I know I said, sorry, selon moi, je dirais que, stuff like that, just because it adds complexity to your answers, it means you have a wider range of vocabulary, etc., etc. So, le train est mon transport préféré pour aller en ville. We could say something here like à cause de. Now, à cause de needs an accent. Now, whilst the others, you won't get marked down because, you won't get marked down for them just simply because they don't change the meaning. Préféré and à, they really do change the meaning, because at the moment it's saying my transport prefers, and it says going to town has cause of, which actually does sort of make sense, but no, we're saying because of, à cause de, with an accent, otherwise you'll get marked down. À cause du, we could say à cause du fait, because of the fact that I would like to, so j'aimerais, conditional, I would like, protéger, which needs an accent, protéger l'environnement. So I would like to protect the environment. Now, we can add some more complex phrases here. So maybe si j'avais le choix, that means if I had the choice, and then if that is actually uses the imparfait, it's called, which you don't need to know, you just need to know that si j'avais le choix means if I had the choice. We could say something like je voyagerai en train, and that means I would travel by train chaque jour, each day, because oh my god, I keep writing in English. Puisque, so we've already used parce que, we've already used car, we've already used à cause de, so the next logical one to use is puisque. So I would travel on train each day, every day, since we could say like ça me libère l'esprit. So that means because it frees my mind. So ça me libère l'esprit is a really good phrase to use, and there are some accents in there, so I'll add them in later. Now again, I think that is probably enough for a second bullet point. You can write more. To be honest, I always ended up writing more than 90 words because I found it was really hard to only write 90 words. However, like, you don't want to go too far over because you don't want to run out of time for the translation for the 150 word, and you don't want to get kind of writing so much that you don't have time to proofread your answers, check your answers, etc. Alors, so now we're going to be in the past tense. So even if you didn't know what samedi meant, you know that dernier means last, and you know that une visite au magasin means a visit to the shops. So you can literally just start it with samedi dernier, j'ai, or je suis allé au magasin. And that means last Saturday I went to the shops, and obviously aller needs an accent, which I'll add later. So, this is just a fairly basic sentence. However, you have already used the correct past tense in être form. A lot of people would say j'ai allé, which is wrong. It's je suis allé, because it's what's known as an être verb, which just means you have to use je suis, tu es, il est, instead of j'ai, tu as, elle a, etc. So, je suis au magasin. We could say avec mes amis, why not? Mes amis. Mon ami, or mes amis, and the reason we're going to do this is because this means we can now talk in the plural. So, mes amis ont pensé, so that needs an accent, which I'll add later. So, my friends thought that it was, so that needs an accent there, but not as important. C'était très amusant, puisque, since they, so puisqu'ils, that's a nice contraction there, because they bought lots of clothes. Beaucoup or just lots of things. So my friends thought that it was fun because they bought lots of things. And obviously acheter needs an accent, as does très, c'était, penser, and I'll add them later, and aller. And that's useful because you've now shown you can talk in the plural, and also beaucoup de, that means a lot of, and you always say beaucoup de, you don't say beaucoup de, you don't say beaucoup du, beaucoup de. So, yeah, even though it's plural, it's beaucoup de choses, not beaucoup des choses. Now, I think we probably need a final sentence. So what could we say? So we've already said my friends like that, so we could say pourtant, which means however, better than cependant because it's less used. However, we could use je l'ai trouvé, which needs an accent. So, I found it un peu ennuyeux. That's how you spell it, yeah. I found it a bit boring, car je n'aime pas, I don't like, je n'aime pas le shopping. I don't like shopping. Like that. So there we go. I think that is a good answer, and I'll just add the accents on now. So this is going to be in the future tense, and I think we should use two future tenses. So we've got the futur proche, which is je vais, tu vas, and we've also got le futur simple, and that is like je serai, j'irai, je mangerai, je choisirai, etc. So, vos activités en ville le week-end prochain. So, we could just start with le week-end prochain. Je voudrais, so that's the conditional. I would like to. It doesn't have an exact translation, because it technically means I would want to, but it means like I want to, I would like to. And then if we add an infinitive after that, that's it's already a complex structure actually, so you don't need to worry. So I would like to eat in a restaurant. So manger dans un restaurant, because I am, we could say like something like je suis trop paresseux hold on, I'm not 100% sure how to say that, so maybe not. We could say something like, I'm too tired. Oh no, that's present tense. I would like to eat in a restaurant because I would like to eat in a restaurant. We could say like a restaurant because I like to try, or like I like to taste lots of food. So I like to taste lots of food, and goûter obviously needs an accent, but it's not really too big of a deal. It's just that little hat. I've spelled beaucoup wrong. Is there any other accent? Don't think so. So that we've used an infinitive after a conditional. That is a really good complex structure. So just je voudrais plus an infinitive, complex structure. There we go, done. Take that in the mark scheme. So what else is there to say? Now this is the last bullet point. So we don't have to say much. We could say like, a really good one to use, j'estime que, which is like I estimate that, or just I think that this activity, which needs an accent, will be, so sera, again, that's the future tense, will be agréable, which means pleasant. For one, I can't really think of another word off the top of my head, which is really annoying, but I think this activity will be pleasant, since j'adore manger, I love going to restaurants. Aller au restaurant. And if you're wondering, by the way, about just thought I'd sidetrack. So au means aller with an accent, and o with an x means aller. So you can never say aller or aller, well, unless it has to have an accent. So you can say it like that. So like il a le, I don't know, il a le train, bit of a strange one, he has the train. But if you've got an accent, you can't say that. You have to say oh or oh. So yeah, just thought that's a useful point to make. So, j'estime que cette activité sera agréable puisque j'adore aller au restaurant. Aller au restaurant. We could use another si j'avais l'argent, or is it si j'avais de l'argent? Si j'avais assez de l'argent, if I had enough money, I would eat in restaurant chaque jour. So there we go. I think that is the full answer to our question. So now I'll just add my accents on. Now, when you're proofreading, I'd say the main thing to look out for is your verb conjugations. So, like, so for example, if you're trying to say I would say that, make sure you put the S on the end of dire, because that S is obviously silent. And then do check for accents, but only check for accents on words where it really changes the meaning. I'd also recommend on stuff like elle le trouve, je le trouve, where you've got the le or la, make sure you've got the right thing for le or la. Make sure that you've got the right masculine or feminine, because it's easy to just memorize the je le trouve as a phrase, and then you don't adjust it as to whether or not it's masculine or feminine. This is specific here, again, make sure that you've used the right a. So a without an accent only means has. Every other meaning of the word a, as in like to, at, that always has the accent on. And also just make sure you're adding your accents on words like préféré. Preferred has an accent on, otherwise it would just be prefers. Je l'ai trouvé. is a really big thing, because remember, actually it's not too big, you probably won't get marked down that much for it, but if the le is feminine, you need to add an extra E on the trouvé. And yeah, again, just check your verb conjugations. So mangerai, I would eat, has an S, but if it was I will eat, it wouldn't have an S. Now let's have a look at the mark scheme. So as you can see, 10 marks is for content and 6 marks is for your actual quality of language. So whilst you need to pay attention to your quality of language, don't compromise writing about the bullet points just so you get perfect grammar. It's worth noting here that it says that because it's a crossover of foundation and higher, you don't need to have as complex ideas, as complex structures, as you do in the 150 word question if you're doing higher. However, it does say that complex structures and sentences are attempted for the top band of marks. And here it lists stuff like connectives, subordinate clauses, infinitives, different tenses, which are all stuff we've done, but bear in mind it doesn't mention that you have to use the subjunctive. You can if you want, it would be impressive, but it's not a requirement. There's no specific requirement, you just need complex structures, whichever complex structures you choose to use. Obviously, make sure you do all aspects of the bullet point and make sure you express opinions, because if you don't express an opinion, the most you can get here is 4. An opinion expressed is for 5 to 6, and you need to express multiple opinions to get 7 to 8. So an opinion is something like I like, or any positive or negative adjective counts as an opinion. Anyway, that's all for this video. So for more GCSE French resources, visit www.astarfrench.com.